Hey, Chuck.
Well, I tell you what, if it's a U-Haul, we can fit like 50 of you in there. Hey, guys, let me tell y'all something. Do y'all know that Sunday night is a show called Succession, and then Power starts tonight, and y'all are interrupting my Sunday night watching Succession and Power?
You got DVR,
Are you taping it? Come on, Charles.
Wait a minute. Hold on a
DVR.
second. We're interrupting Succession and Power. How fitting are those show names for what we're talking about right now?
Go ahead, Chuck.
Great point.
Chuck, to be fair, Kenny was asleep in London, so you're a close second. Let me ask you about your reaction. LeBron to the Lakers, a lot of people thought that was a good possibility. Now it's a reality for 4 years. What's your reaction?
Not a shock at all. I mean, I was hoping he stayed in Cleveland, but I don't think it was a shock. We've been talking about it for 6 months, so I don't think it's a shock. But they got a long way to go. Paul George thing last night was good for Paul George. But what's going to be interesting, the Lakers, they're not going to trade, the Spurs are not going to trade Kawhi Leonard to the Lakers. Well, that would be just stupid. So it's going to be interesting what Magic is able to do. Whether I know they made some contact with DeMarcus Cousins, but if it's going to be interesting because, like I say, the Spurs would be stupid to give Kawhi Leonard and LeBron and play against them for the next 5 to 10 years. So that don't have any legs whatsoever to me. So. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in DeMarcus Cousins, or they might have to wait till next summer when Kawhi is free or some of those other guys free.
Charles, you know Magic well. What does it say about he and Rob Pelinka and that group, and as D.A. pointed out, Jeannie Buss, rightfully so, and their plan? Because clearly, hey, LeBron, we're in L.A., and you want to be in the movies and your kids live here is not going to be enough. What does this tell you about the plan that's in place and the direction that LeBron was sold by Magic?
Well, I don't think it tells me anything. I think the next piece is going to tell you. Listen, I think everybody assumed LeBron was going to the Lakers. I think he's older. He wants to be probably in sunshine to finish up his career. He's probably want to be a little bit more competitive. So LeBron, to me, was the easy piece. Now comes the hard piece. Losing Paul George. Now you got to wait a year more than likely if the Spurs aren't able to talk Kawhi into staying. I think, I'm not going to give them too much credit. That was the easiest part. I think everybody in the studio you're talking to, like, oh, okay, he was going to the Lakers. What's next? It's hot as hell everywhere.
We're joined by the holding back edition of Sir Charles. Chuck, obviously Philadelphia near and dear to you. The East is wide open now.
No, it's not.
It is without LeBron. It's not?
Well, listen, the East is gone. It was gone when LeBron stayed in the East. The Boston Celtics are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference for the next 10 years. They think about it. They took them to 7 games without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. So the Cavs were done anyway if LeBron stayed there. And I don't even know what they could do. They maybe could have traded Kevin Love and got some pieces. But it's all about the Boston Celtics now, and maybe the Philadelphia 76ers.
Well, Chuck, I was going to ask you, if the Sixers do get Kawhi, and I know the reports are they feel like they have a legitimate chance to do so, if Kawhi Leonard became a member of the Sixers, do you put them with Boston, or you still don't think that's good enough to contend to win the East?
Well, see, that's what's interesting. I might put them a little bit ahead of Boston. Well, it'll be a pick-em. But the tricky thing with Kyrie, you can't give up a lot and only get him for 1 year. I mean, you can't give that guy – you can't give up all your players and draft picks and Kawhi leaves after 1 year. But if the Sixers were able to get Kawhi, that would be a pick'em series to me between the Celtics and the 76ers.
Hey, Charles, this is Billy King. Next year, there are going to be a lot of teams, especially in the East, with money. And so Kyrie Irving's a free agent. Durant's free agent. Do you see some of those guys saying, wait a minute, all these guys in the West, I'm going to go East or go to New York or go to one of these teams because there's going to be so much money in the East and teams now without LeBron. Do you see a lot of those guys jumping ship coming East?
Well, I think what's happening, Billy, teams got to start making decisions now about who you pay. The Celtics are paying Gordon the max. Listen, we all agree Jason Tatum is coming fast. They got to make a decision on Marcus Smart. And it's going to happen with the Warriors in the next year or two. You can't pay everybody. You cannot pay everybody. And you're going to see now, and I think it's good, these guys say, wait a minute. Why am I giving y'all $20, $30, $40, $50 million discounts? No, that's not happening anymore. I tell these guys, you guys better make as much money as you possibly can, because these teams going to make as much money as they possibly can. So, Billy, to answer your question, it all depends. You've been a general manager. You can't pay everybody. Draymond's already said, I'm not taking no pay cut anymore. You see Kevin said, hey, I want a 2-year max. And Clay's coming up. So you can't pay everybody. Boston, to me, is the most interesting team because, like I say, I'm paying Gordon. I got to make a decision on Smart. Al Horford's making the max. When Kyrie comes up next year, do I get him a max deal? Because I know a couple years later I got to pay Jalen or Tatum. So everybody can't get paid. So it's going to be interesting the next few years.
And I think Horford can opt out also next year as well. So he can be a free agent with Kyrie and Rozier.
Wow. No, it's an incredible free agent crop. Yeah. Chuck, I'm wondering, DA has mentioned this as well, talking about Paul George and his decision to stay in Oklahoma City the way he did, and that it was the right fit for him there. Who do you look at now as the right fit? And the package that they sold Paul George in OKC, what it meant for him to stay there and what he was buying into. Who's the right fit and what are they buying into in Philadelphia? You know that market really well.
Well, the big elephant in the room is Markelle Fultz. Can he play or not? Because we already know that Simmons, Embiid, and Saric are going to be good. They're already good, and their upside is through the roof. Now, you got, like I say, I'm not there every day. I was totally shocked that folks didn't get any time in the playoffs. I mean, any time. So I don't know what's going on with that situation. So to me, that's the Sixers ain't got to worry about but one thing: can Markelle Fultz play? Because if he can, you got three guys who the #1 pick in the draft. And you give me three guys who the #1 pick in the draft, my team should be good for the next 10 years. But the elephant in the room is Markelle Fultz. And like I say, I don't know because I'm not around those guys every day, but for a #1 draft pick not to be able to get any time in the playoffs, you got to have some red flags. I mean, because he could have gave them some spot minutes somewhere in the playoffs, but they didn't give him any time.
Chuck, you can go back to finding out whether or not Ghost and Tommy get the right revenge on Power. Let me know what happens, all right?
Right now I'm in the middle of Succession. Power comes on at the top of the hour.
Okay. Well, what do you get after
TV Guide, brought to you by Charles Barkley.
Hey, Charles, do you come back to NBA TV after that for the wrap-up?
So everybody can repeat the same everything for the last week and a half.
He's seen the show. Appreciate it, Chuck. Thank you.
Credit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whoever said Succession and Power is a perfect way to explain tonight.
That's Griff.
It's Griff.
All right, well, listen, man. Listen, I know you guys been working you behind off. But like I say, listen, great for the Lakers. But unless they get something else, let me ask you guys a question. Each one
Chuck,
of
do you just want to keep talking?
Yeah,
you want to come in?
What do you want to ask us, Chuck? Go ahead.
Called me.
No. You're right. So what do you want to ask us, Chuck? Go ahead.
So look looking at the Laker team just right now, where do they fit in the West?
Chuck, as a DA, I would say you certainly are looking at, we got Golden State 1, Houston 2, or maybe, in some order there. I think OKC is still, now with Paul George back, if, they get all their pieces back, I think they're in the mix too. I'd say the Lakers probably a, 3-4 seed. Does that seem reasonable?
Yep.
The way they sit today, I think if you look at wins above replacement and everything else that you can say that LeBron brings to the equation, they're a 43 to 47 win team, something like that.
So what seed is that, Griff?
In the
Five
West?
or six
5
in
or
the
6,
West, 7 or 8 in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. If they were in the East, they're definitely a 3 or 4.
Because you're looking at, you got Minnesota, you've got Utah, you've got
Denver.
Denver. There's some teams that are, Portland.
Yeah, good team.
Yeah.
No question.
So, and I think the fact that LeBron's got to play these teams now 4 times. And so now, can these young guys withstand it during a 4-game stretch of doing it? So, but I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs.
Right.
Chuck, go ahead.
So Billy, I agree with you. I think I'm looking at 5, 6, 7 because all them teams you mentioned, they're not better than Minnesota. They might not be better than Denver. They clearly, let's take the Warriors and the Rockets out of the equation. But you look at it on paper, OKC, I think they're going to be better because they don't have to answer all the questions about are he going to stay or go. Portland's going to be pretty good. Minnesota, to me, is a sleeper. But the Lakers going to have to play those guys a lot more. So LeBron, that thing he did in the Eastern Conference where he can just will his team to win, 3 or 4 games, that ain't going to work in the West.
And we didn't even mention Utah, Chuck.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, my goodness, I forgot about Utah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
unless they get another player, another big-time free agent this year, to me, there's
I'm with.
6, 7, 8 seed.
And we didn't even mention New Orleans with Anthony Davis.
Oh, you're right.
But I think y'all sell him 23 a little short.
But I just think that for the long duration of the season, you're playing better competition during the regular season.
No question. But
that's the hardest thing.
These guys all got through anybody who plays with LeBron gets better. You just get better.
Well, because the expectation is you do.
Right.
To a huge degree, it's self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
I'm playing with different responsibilities than I ever had.
I don't remember y'all saying that during the playoffs this year. Y'all saying how bad his teammates sucked all year.
Well, he got him to the finals, Chuck.
Yeah, in the Eastern Conference.
Right. I got that. I understand what you're saying.
For the record, to be clear, Chuck, I never said that.
I think you said that.
I want to ask the panel something because this gets thrown out as there's no way. And Chuck, hang on, I'll let you weigh in too because you said this as well. I said it, Chuck said it, everybody says, well, Kawhi could want to go to the Lakers, but there's no way that Pop and the Spurs are going to deal him to the Lakers. Do any of you see any chance where that's the case, or are we really looking at Philadelphia or Kawhi is stuck and he better get over it?
I think I think at the end of the day, they're going to make the best deal. Wherever that is, if it's the Lakers, it's the Lakers. They'll pull the trigger on that. If it's Philly,
so they would.
I think they would if they think it's the best deal. Now, I think there would be some question about whether 1 or 2 of the Lakers' young players and a couple of picks that now are not going to be all that valuable are better than what you can get elsewhere.
And I think now you start taking away some of those pieces we were just talking about. Now you have Kawhi Leonard and a lot less of those young talent. Now you got to go get some older veteran guys and hope they can mesh and make it work. So now is Kawhi and LeBron and a bunch of Jamal Crawfords and pieces good enough to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the point you made about the situation for the Lakers in terms of if they did that and they lose pieces, right? And you're talking about the depth of all of it.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the fact that if they trade Kawhi to the Lakers, what are they getting back that they can feel like is going to help them compete in that Western Conference?
Yeah. Exactly.
What you get back from anyone has to enable you to compete within your own conference.
Right.
And if you keep him in the West, it makes it that much more difficult.
Going forward.
I would just say this real quick, and I know Chuck's on the line. If I'm the Spurs, I'm trading you my best player in Kawhi Leonard. They just got their best player.
Right.
So now you're giving me your second, maybe third, maybe fourth best player and some picks that, again, don't help me.
Which is why Philly is more interesting. Sarge,
to me, I think
Covington,
Philly
Fultz.
is a more makes more sense for to me. Now, I'm not making that call. That's
Boston.
R.C. Buford and
Boston can put
Boston
together a
too.
really compelling package.
Charles, the last question I have, because I know you're still here. I don't want to. Did you press pause yet on the DVR?
I told you,
All right.
man, I don't DVR stuff. I don't even know how to use a DVR.
So you're just missing it?
By the way,
No, I got it on.
do you
No,
want
he's ignoring us, actually.
do you want to have your mind blown?
yeah.
Chuck, have you ever used an ATM?
I have not ever used an ATM.
Like in his whole life?
I don't even want to know the mechanics of that. I really don't.
Like,
No.
Chuck,
No,
you've never used an ATM?
I've never used an ATM, ever. Or a DVR either, just for the record. I told you all that.
Do you have a microwave?
What
Yeah, I got a microwave.
what an interesting life, Chuck.
Isn't it amazing? All right, Chuck, thanks for the fun.